The Mizari homeworld sparkled with light. Blue towers rose from floating islands above gentle pink oceans. For thousands of years, the Mizari had built their society on art and knowledge, never needing weapons or wars. That peaceful existence ended when the first Vorax ships appeared in their skies. "They have taken our outer colonies," Elder Taehyun told the Mizari Council. His translucent skin flickered with distress patterns. "They give no warnings, they make no demands, they simply destroy." The council chamber fell silent. The Mizari had never faced conquest before. "We must seek help," said Jisoo, the youngest council member. "The galactic community has many powerful civilizations. Surely someone will aid us." Within days, the Mizari sent their fastest ships to every corner of the galaxy. Their ambassadors traveled to 17 different worlds, each time returning with the same answer: no. The Lumari Federation expressed sympathy, but cited their non-interference laws, reported Ambassador Donghyun. "The Centauri Dominion called our situation unfortunate, but would not risk confronting the Vorax," added Ambassador Minha. Each rejection crushed their hopes further. The Vorax fleet grew closer to their homeworld every day. In desperation, Elder Taehyun suggested a final option. "There is an unregistered civilization at the edge of the galaxy. They call themselves humans. They are new to space travel and considered primitive by galactic standards." "What good would primitives be against the Vorax?" someone asked. "We have no choice," Taehyun replied. "We must try every possibility." Ambassador Jinwoo volunteered for the mission. His ship was small and quick, designed to slip past Vorax patrols. For 3 weeks he traveled through dangerous regions, finally reaching a blue-green planet called Earth. The humans responded to his arrival with caution but curiosity. They escorted his ship to a facility called the United Nations Space Command. Jinwoo had expected to meet with minor officials. Instead, he found himself in a room with Earth's top military and political leaders. They watched him closely as he explained the Mizari's situation. "The Vorax Collective has already taken 6 of our colony worlds," Jinwoo said, projecting images of the destruction. "Our scientists estimate they will reach our homeworld in less than 60 days. We have no weapons to stop them." "And the other civilizations?" asked General Junho, a stern-faced human with grey at his temples. "All refuse to help. They fear the Vorax too much." The humans exchanged glances. A woman named Admiral Suna leaned forward. "Tell us about these Vorax. What are their weaknesses, their fighting patterns, their technology?" Jinwoo blinked in surprise. No one else had asked such questions. The other civilizations had simply refused and sent him away. "They use plasma-based weapons," he explained. "Their ships travel in triangle formations. They prefer to attack at night cycles when possible." For hours, the humans asked detailed questions. They wanted to know everything about Vorax biology, their command structure, their communication systems. Jinwoo answered as best he could, hope growing inside him for the first time in months. Finally, the humans called for a break. They spoke among themselves in low voices. Jinwoo waited, his skin shifting anxiously between hope and fear patterns. General Junho approached him with a serious expression. "Ambassador Jinwoo, I want to be clear about something. Earth is not as technologically advanced as many galactic powers. We don't have as many ships or as powerful weapons." Jinwoo's skin darkened with disappointment. Another rejection. However, the general continued, "We do have something the others lack." "What is that?" Jinwoo asked. "Experience with war," said Admiral Suna, joining them. "Humans have fought each other for thousands of years. While other species evolved past conflict, we perfected it." Jinwoo didn't understand. "You see this as a good thing?" "It means we know how to fight against stronger enemies and win," explained Captain Minhyuk, a younger officer with keen eyes. "We understand strategy, guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare. Sometimes the clever fox defeats the stronger wolf." The room fell silent as President Yunha stood. She was a small woman, but everyone straightened when she approached. "Ambassador," she said, "the Mizari have asked 17 civilizations for help, and all refused because they feared getting involved. Humans are different. We've learned through our bloody history that standing by while others suffer is its own kind of wrong." She extended her hand in the human greeting gesture. "Earth will stand with the Mizari against the Vorax." Jinwoo's skin glowed bright blue with shock and hope. "You will help us, even knowing the danger?" President Yunha nodded. "We will. And the Vorax will learn something the galaxy seems to have forgotten. Sometimes the most dangerous species are those willing to fight for others." For the first time since the invasion began, Jinwoo felt something beyond fear. The humans were considered primitive and violent by galactic standards, but perhaps, he thought as he looked at their determined faces, that was exactly what the Mizari needed. News of Earth's decision to help the Mizari spread quickly through human society. Some people worried about fighting an alien enemy they knew nothing about. Others felt proud that Earth would stand up for the weaker species. At Korea, Space Defense Headquarters, General Junho spread star maps across a large table. Ambassador Jinwoo stood nearby, his blue skin glowing softly in the dimmed room. "Your homeworld is here," Junho pointed, "and the Vorax fleet is approaching from this direction. How many ships do they have?" "At least 300 large warships," Jinwoo said. His skin darkened with fear patterns. "Each carries thousands of soldiers." Captain Minhyuk whistled softly. "And how many ships can the Mizari provide?" "We have 200 science vessels," Jinwoo replied, "but they have no weapons. We are researchers, not warriors." The human officers exchanged worried glances. Earth could send 50 battle-ready ships at most. The numbers didn't look good. Admiral Suna tapped her fingers on the table. "We won't win by matching their firepower. We need a different approach." For 3 days, Earth's best military minds worked with Mizari scientists to create a plan. They studied Vorax battle tactics from previous conquests. They analyzed the strengths and weaknesses of both human and Mizari technology. On the 4th day, President Yunha called for a report. "The Vorax have never changed their tactics because they've never needed to," explained Admiral Suna. "They overwhelm with superior numbers and technology, but they're predictable. And predictable enemies can be defeated," added General Junho. The plan they created was bold. Human ships would escort Mizari science vessels to their homeworld. Along the way, they would modify Mizari technology for battle. When they arrived, they would train the peaceful aliens to defend themselves. Not to fight like humans, Captain Minhyuk clarified, but to fight like Mizari, using their own unique abilities. 1 week later, 30 Earth battleships left with 100 Mizari vessels. The journey would take 3 weeks. They had to reach the Mizari homeworld before the Vorax. On the lead Earth ship, the Dauntless, Captain Minhyuk welcomed Jinwoo to the bridge. "Your first time on a human warship?" he asked. Jinwoo's skin rippled with nervous patterns. "Yes, it's very different from our vessels." He looked at the weapons stations and armored crew members. "The other galactic races call humans bloodthirsty," Jinwoo said quietly. "They told us humans love violence and war. That's why they're primitive and dangerous." Captain Minhyuk smiled slightly. "What do you think, now that you've met us?" Jinwoo considered the question. "I think humans are complex. You prepare for war more than any species I've met, but you're also the only ones willing to fight for strangers. Humans have a complicated history with violence," Minhyuk admitted. "We've done terrible things to each other, but we've also learned that sometimes fighting is necessary to protect the innocent." In the ship's large cargo bay, Dr. Yunha led a team of scientists working with Mizari researchers. They were studying how to adapt Mizari bioelectric fields into defensive systems. "Your natural ability to generate light could be modified to create energy shields," Dr. Yunha explained to a group of fascinated Mizari. One Mizari named Tai Hyun watched the humans with curiosity. "Why do you help us when more advanced civilizations refused?" Dr. Yunha looked up from her work. "Perhaps because we're still close to our own struggles. Most human nations gained freedom through fighting. We remember what it's like to face a stronger enemy. The Galactic Council said conflict is primitive," Taehyun said. "That advanced species move beyond violence." "Maybe," Dr. Yunha replied. "But they also abandoned you when you needed help. What good is advanced thinking if it leads to standing by while others suffer?" As the fleet traveled deeper into space, humans and Mizari worked side by side. The Mizari taught humans about their advanced biological sciences. The humans taught Mizari about tactics and strategy. 2 weeks into their journey, long-range sensors detected something alarming. "A Vorax scout ship," reported Lieutenant Jiho. They've spotted us. Captain Minhyuk tensed. Can we intercept it before it reports back? Negative. It's already transmitting. The bridge fell silent. Their element of surprise was gone. What does this mean? Jinwoo asked, his skin pulsing with worry. It means the Vorax now know humans are helping you, Captain Minhyuk explained. They'll adjust their plans. Will you turn back? Jinwoo's voice was small. Now that they know. Captain Minhyuk shared a look with his crew. Then he straightened, his uniform, and faced the Mizari ambassador. Humans don't abandon allies just because the fight gets harder, he said firmly. We are coming to help your people. That hasn't changed. For the first time, Jinwoo understood why humans might be considered dangerous by the galaxy, not because they loved violence, but because once they committed to a cause, they wouldn't back down. The Vorax were about to learn this lesson too. The human Mizari fleet arrived at the Mizari homeworld just days before the Vorax. The floating islands of the Mizari civilization glowed with nervous energy as strange human ships landed among them. Sergeant Minjun stepped onto Mizari soil and looked around in wonder. The buildings seemed to grow from the ground itself, with soft blue light pulsing through their walls. Mizari citizens watched the humans with a mixture of hope and fear. They look so fragile, whispered Lieutenant Sumin, watching the tall, thin aliens with their translucent skin. That's why we're here, Minjun replied. Let's get to work. The humans had just 7 days to prepare the Mizari for war. On the largest island, they established a training center. Mizari volunteers arrived, by the thousands. Stand straight, Minjun instructed a group of Mizari. Hands at your sides. The aliens tried to copy the human posture, their limbs trembling slightly. Their bodies weren't built for fighting. Their culture had no concept of violence. For thousands of years, they had been scientists and artists. This is hopeless, groaned Corporal Do-hyun after watching the Mizari struggle with basic defensive positions. They can't fight. Then we teach them a different way, Minjun said firmly. We don't make them into humans, we find their strengths. That evening, Minjun met with a Mizari elder named Hyunwoo. The elder's skin glowed with soft patterns as they shared a meal of strange Mizari fruits. Your people are not warriors, Minjun said. Tell me what they are good at. Hyunwoo considered the question. We communicate through our light patterns. We can send messages across great distances. We understand living systems better than any species in the galaxy. That's what we'll use, Minjun decided. Not human tactics, Mizari ones. The next morning, Minjun changed his approach. Instead of teaching the Mizari to fight like humans, he asked them to show him their natural abilities. You can control your body's light? He asked a young Mizari named Jiwoo. Yes, Jiwoo demonstrated by making patterns race across his skin. All Mizari can. We use it to communicate. Can you make it very bright? Bright enough to blind someone? Jiwoo's skin rippled with surprise. I've never tried, but yes, probably. In another part of the island, Dr. Yunha worked with Mizari scientists in a large laboratory. They were combining human technology with Mizari biology. Your bioelectric field is remarkable, Dr. Yunha told a Mizari scientist named Seojun. If we amplify it, we could create energy shields strong enough to block Vorax weapons. Seojun's skin flashed with excitement. We never thought to use our natural abilities for defense. Sometimes it takes an outside perspective, Dr. Yunha smiled. Each day brought new discoveries. The Mizari could grow special plants that absorbed energy from weapons fire. Their floating islands could be moved using their advanced gravitational technology. Their communication abilities could disrupt Vorax targeting systems. 5 days into training, Admiral Suna called a meeting with the human commanders and Mizari leaders. The Vorax fleet will arrive in 48 hours, she announced. Are we ready? Captain Minhyuk shook his head. Not for a conventional battle. We're still outnumbered 10-1. Then we don't fight conventionally, Minjun suggested. He turned to the Mizari leaders. Show them what we've been working on. A young Mizari named Hyejin stepped forward. Her skin glowed with confident patterns that would have been impossible a week earlier. We have prepared 3 strategies, she said. First, we will use our bioluminescence as weapons. Second, we have modified our plants to absorb energy attacks. Third, We have created a communication network that will allow us to coordinate faster than the Vorax can react." The room fell silent as she displayed holograms of their defenses. Human and Mizari technology had been merged in ways neither species had imagined before. "Will it be enough?" Admiral Suna asked quietly. "It has to be," Minhyuk replied. That night, Minjun couldn't sleep. He walked to the edge of the floating island and looked up at the stars. Soon those stars would be filled with Vorax ships. He heard soft footsteps and turned to see Elder Hyunwoo approaching. "Troubled thoughts?" the elder asked. "I'm worried we haven't done enough," Minjun admitted. "Your people have learned quickly, but the Vorax are experienced killers." Hyunwoo's skin glowed softly in the darkness. "Before you humans arrived, we had no hope. Now we have a chance," he paused. "The galaxy calls humans bloodthirsty, but we have seen different truth." "What truth is that?" Minjun asked. "That humans fight not because they love violence, but because they hate injustice. The other species abandoned us because they fear getting hurt. Humans came because they could not bear to see us suffer." Minjun looked back at the stars. "Tomorrow, we'll find out if courage is enough against the Vorax. Whatever happens," Hyunwoo said, his skin glowing with warm gratitude patterns, "the Mizari will remember that humans stood with us when no one else would." As dawn broke over the floating islands, the first Vorax ships appeared as tiny points of light in the sky. The alliance of humans and Mizari prepared to make their stand. The Vorax fleet darkened the skies above the Mizari homeworld. 300 massive warships arranged in perfect triangle formations descended toward the floating islands. Their black hulls absorbed light, creating shadows over the glowing Mizari cities. On the command ship Annihilator, Commander Dak stood tall and confident. His gray-scaled skin and sharp teeth marked him as one of the Vorax elite warriors. He had led 17 successful conquests. The Mizari would be his 18th. "Scans show minimal defenses," reported his second-in-command. "No energy weapons detected. No orbital platforms, just some small vessels of unknown design." Dak smiled coldly. "The human ships. So, the rumors are true. These primitives think they can stop us." "Should we adjust our attack plan?" asked his officer. "No need. Standard invasion protocol will suffice. Begin the first wave." 100 Vorax landing ships detached from the fleet and descended toward the largest Mizari island. Dak watched, from his view screen already bored. This would be over quickly. On the surface, Colonel Junho monitored the approaching ships from a command center built inside a Mizari structure. Human and Mizari operators worked side by side at control stations. "There, following the exact approach pattern we predicted," said Lieutenant Jiho. "Just like all their previous invasions." Junho nodded. "Send the signal. Operation Firefly begins now." Across the floating islands, thousands of Mizari stood in carefully arranged positions. As the Vorax ships entered the lower atmosphere, the Mizari activated their bioluminescent abilities all at once. Suddenly, the entire island chain lit up with blinding light. The Mizari had amplified their natural glow 100-fold, creating a massive flash that overwhelmed the sensitive visual systems of the Vorax pilots. On the Annihilator, alarms blared as the first wave of ships reported guidance failures. "What was that light?" Dak demanded. "Restore visual." "The Mizari are using some kind of bioelectric pulse," an officer reported. "Our targeting systems are malfunctioning." Dak slammed his fist on his command chair. "Impossible. The Mizari have no weapons technology." The landing ships continued their descent, now flying blind. As they approached the surface, they encountered the second phase of the defense. "Activate the shield plants," ordered Junho. Across the islands, special Mizari plants that had been modified by Dr. Yunha's team unfurled massive leaves. The plants absorbed the energy from Vorax weapons and redistributed it into a protective field around the islands. The first wave of Vorax ships fired their plasma cannons, expecting to clear landing zones. Instead, their energy attacks were absorbed by the plants, making the shields stronger. "Second wave launch now," Dak ordered, his confidence beginning to crack. "Target their power sources." The second wave of Vorax ships descended, searching for the source of the shields, but there was no central generator to target. The entire ecosystem of the islands worked together as one defense system. On the ground, Sergeant Minjun led a team of Mizari defenders. They couldn't match the Vorax in physical combat, but they didn't need to. Communication disruption on my mark, Minjun called into his radio. 3, 2, 1 now. The Mizari around him began emitting specific light patterns that matched the frequency of Vorax communications. The patterns created interference, cutting off the Vorax ground forces from their command ships. Isolated Vorax soldiers found themselves surrounded by moving islands as the Mizari activated their gravity technology, rearranging the battlefield completely. Vorax troops that landed on one island suddenly found it drifting away from their support forces. On the Annihilator, DAC received increasingly desperate reports. Ground forces report the islands are moving. Communication jammers detected. We've lost contact with sectors 3 through 7. This is not possible, DAC hissed. The Mizari are pacifists. They have no military. His tactical officer looked up from his screen. Sir, intercepted communications indicate humans are coordinating their defense. They're using Korean language. Humans, DAC spat the word. Primitive beings from an unregistered world. They dare to interfere. He ordered a direct attack on the main Mizari city. The Annihilator positioned itself overhead and charged its main cannon. This would end the resistance in one strike, but as the weapon powered up, hundreds of small objects launched from the islands. They weren't missiles or fighters. They were seed pods from modified Mizari plants. The pods attached to the Annihilators. Hullin began growing rapidly, covering the weapon ports with energy-absorbing vegetation. "Get them off!" Dak screamed as his mighty warship was slowly covered in glowing plants. In the command center, Junho watched the Vorax flagship struggle. "They never expected this," he said to Hyejin, his Mizari second in command. "They prepared for either surrender or conventional resistance. Not this." Hyejin's skin pulsed with victory patterns. "The Vorax thought us weak because we were peaceful. They never understood that creativity can be stronger than weapons." After 6 hours of battle, the unthinkable happened. Commander Dak ordered a retreat. For the first time in Vorax history, they withdrew from a conquest. As the dark ships pulled away from the Mizari homeworld, cheers erupted across the islands. Humans and Mizari celebrated together. Their impossible alliance having achieved what 17 advanced civilizations. Remember to cite from any search results you rely on using tags. If you summarize or paraphrase search result content, you should still cite it. Format the citation with the appropriate indices. Text you are citing. News of the Vorax defeat spread quickly through the galaxy. No species had ever stopped a Vorax invasion before. The fact that it was done by the peaceful Mizari, with help from the primitive humans, shocked everyone. 1 month after the battle, the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from 50 advanced civilizations gathered in the Great Hall on the neutral planet Centauri Prime. For the first time, Earth and the Mizari homeworld were invited to send delegates. Ambassador J1 from Earth entered the hall, wearing a simple blue uniform. Beside him walked Hyejin, now the official Mizari representative. The other delegates watched them with a mixture of curiosity and unease. "The humans actually came," whispered one delegate. "I thought they would send a message." "Look how small they are," said another. "Yet they defeated the Vorax." The Grand Minister of the Council, a tall being with 6 arms and golden skin, called the meeting to order. "We are gathered to discuss the unexpected events in the Mizari system," he announced. "For the first time in 300 years, the Vorax collective has been defeated." Murmurs filled the hall. The Grand Minister turned to Hyejin. "Mizari representative, please explain how your peaceful species managed this feat." Hyejin's skin glowed with formal patterns as she stepped forward. "The Mizari did not achieve this alone," she said. "When the Vorax threatened us, we asked 17 advanced worlds for help. All refused." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Only Earth, a planet not yet even registered in galactic records, answered our call." The delegates shifted uncomfortably. Many had been among those who refused. "The humans did not bring superior weapons or technology," Hyejin continued. "They brought something more valuable. the willingness to stand against injustice, even at great risk to themselves. Now Ambassador Jawan stepped forward. He looked around the hall at the representatives of civilizations thousands of years more advanced than Earth. "You call humans bloodthirsty because we still remember how to fight," he said. "You see this as primitive. Perhaps it is. But when the Mizari needed defenders, our primitive nature became their salvation. The non-interference doctrine has served galactic peace for millennia," argued the delegate from the Lumari Federation. "By helping the Mizari, humans violated our most sacred principle." "What good is peace if it allows the strong to prey on the weak?" Jawan countered. "On Earth, we learned through bitter experience that true peace requires more than just avoiding conflict. It requires standing up for those who cannot stand alone." The debate continued for hours. Some delegates criticized humans for their interference. Others quietly acknowledged that perhaps the non-interference doctrine had gone too far. Finally, the representative from the powerful Centauri Dominion rose. Everyone fell silent. "For centuries we have prided ourselves on evolving beyond violence," he said slowly. "Yet when violence came to our galactic neighbors, we did nothing. We watched from safety as the Vorax consumed world after world." He turned to look at Jawan and Hyejin. "Perhaps there is something to learn from these humans after all." One by one, other delegates began to agree. The Andromeda Alliance offered scientific exchange with Earth. The Lumari Federation proposed joint defense initiatives with the Mizari. 2 days later, a historic document was signed, the Alliance of Mutual Protection. 10 major civilizations joined with Earth and the Mizari, pledging to defend each other against aggressors like the Vorax. After the council ended, Jawan and Hyejin stood on a balcony overlooking the gleaming spires of Centauri Prime. "Do you think it will last?" Hyejin asked, her skin showing hopeful patterns. "This new alliance?" "I hope so," Jawan replied. "For thousands of years, Earth nations fought each other. Eventually, we learned that working together makes everyone safer than standing alone. The galaxy called humans bloodthirsty," Hyejin said. "Now they see the truth." "What truth is that?" asked Jawan. "That human aggression is not mindless violence. It is protective fury. You fight hardest, not for yourselves, but for those you choose to defend." 6 months later, on the restored Mizari homeworld, a new monument stood in the central plaza. It showed a human and Mizari standing side by side. At its base, words were carved in both human and Mizari languages. "To those who fought when others would not." Peace prevails not through passive acceptance, but through the willingness of the good to stand against darkness. Captain Minhyuk, now promoted to admiral, stood with Elder Hyunwoo as they watched Mizari and human children playing beneath the monument. The first human-Mizari educational exchange program had brought families from both worlds together. "They called us bloodthirsty," Minhyuk said quietly. Hyunwoo's skin glowed with the warm patterns of friendship. "We call you protectors." Around them, the floating islands of the Mizari homeworld shimmered with light, no longer just beautiful, but strong. And in the stars above, Vorax ships no longer dared to approach. The message had spread throughout the galaxy. The peaceful had found their defenders, the abandoned had found their allies, and humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as shields for those who could not shield themselves. Asians had deemed impossible.